What's up, guys? This is VinylicPuma, back with another Fallout 4 countdown video, and today I want to go over 10 of what I think are among the best settlements to start building at in Fallout 4. Now, before we start, you won't need any mods or DLC to effectively use any of the settlements that I'm going to be going over in this video. Also, I'm ranking many of these settlements based on how ideal their location is, as well as how good they are for building. Typically, I'm going to prioritize settlements with larger building spaces and/or higher build limits, but the location of these areas is going to play a huge part in their ranking as well. So without further ado, these will be the top 10 best settlements to build at in Fallout 4, starting now. Number 10. Hangman's Alley. While not quite as expansive as a number of the other settlements in Fallout 4, Hangman's Alley is extremely valuable thanks to the fact that it is both the closest settlement to Diamond City and also because it's really the only settlement located within downtown Boston. So if you're playing survival mode in particular, or you're looking for a main base or a settlement that you can quickly travel to resupply, Hangman's Alley would be a great choice, due in large part to its more central location. Hangman's Alley also comes with the weapons workbench and cooking station, making it a pretty good place to craft things like purified water, as well as for upgrading weapons. Plus, if you're running low on resource materials, or if you're looking for other specific things like a armor workbench, chemistry station, or power armor station, you can find those things pretty close by in Diamond City. With all of this said, Hangman's Alley isn't without its disadvantages. For starters, you're not getting a very big build area, and you're also pretty limited in the areas in which you can build. Plus, there are a bunch of unscrappable objects like random body parts, which can be annoying if you like neat and tidy areas. Even still though, I think the close proximity to Diamond City makes this an especially valuable settlement to not only resupply, but also for establishing supply lines to your other settlements. And given that Hangman's Alley is pretty easy to capture, you might as well go ahead and acquire it in all of your playthroughs. Number 9. Red Rocket Truck Stop. So, the Red Rocket that's a short walk away from Sanctuary Hills is an excellent settlement location and can prove to be a decent alternative to Sanctuary if you're trying to avoid Preston Garvey, as well as the other Sanctuary NPCs. After all, Red Rocket is also equipped with many of the various crafting stations that Sanctuary has, and while the building area isn't quite as large as Sanctuary's, again, you don't have to deal with Preston Garvey. I also really like Red Rocket's roof. Provided you build a set of stairs for easy access, this can be a great place to build some turrets. And because these turrets are high up and will be difficult for would-be invaders or creatures to attack, you'll rarely, if ever, have to do repairs on them. I think the biggest weaknesses of this settlement is the inability to build water purifiers as well as the small build area when compared to other settlements that are a short walk away. Sanctuary in particular has a massive building area with plenty of flat foundations, while the same can't necessarily be said of Red Rocket. Ultimately though, this is still a great settlement for the very beginning of the game, and I would highly recommend that even if you don't decide to build it, you should go ahead and at least acquire it. Number 8. Egret Tours Marina. In my opinion, when it comes to some of the more southern located settlements on Fallout 4's map, like Somerville Place, Murkwater Construction Site, or Jamaica Plain, I think Egret Tours Marina is by far the best. Not only are you getting a fairly large building area with plenty of steel and wood that you can collect from the nearby trees and cars, but you're also getting a relatively flat surface to build on, thus reducing the number of floating foundations depending on how you decide to build your settlement. I also like the close proximity to water. Not only is the water great for setting up a bunch of water purifiers, but the water also limits where enemies will spawn, provided your settlement should be attacked. This makes Egret Tours Marina fairly easy to fortify, and given that it's relatively close to the glowing sea, you may find that this is a good place to build up as a good resupply point. The only thing that you have to look out for upon first arriving are a lot of the landmines, as well as an NPC named Phyllis. Thankfully, she's not hostile, and assuming you check her terminal, you can even convince her to become the settlement's first inhabitant. Alternatively, if you want to be evil, you could just defeat her and gain access to the workshop that way as well. Overall though, Egertor's Marina is a great settlement for building and is highly recommended if you're playing survival and don't have access to fast travel. Number 7. Grey Garden. Despite the small and relatively difficult building area, Grey Garden is a great settlement to acquire as early as possible due to the sheer number of pre-cultivated crops that can be harvested and replanted at other settlements. It also doesn't hurt that the Mr. Handy robots that inhabit this area don't require food, water, or beds, making them truly ideal settlers. In fact, all you really need to do once you acquire Grey Garden as a settlement is to set up an adequate number of defense turrets, which should help prevent raiders and other threats from seriously affecting the settlement. My only complaint with Grey Garden is that it's typically a better settlement provided you have at least the Automatron DLC. That way you can simply build an Automatron here and then use it to help set up a supply line to the nearby Oberlin station. Otherwise, without DLC, you're going to have to get at least one human settler to come here and build adequate accommodations for them. While I suppose that isn't too much of a hassle, I still think you'll find that Grey Garden is a lot better with Automatron than without. If you want this settlement, all you have to do is complete the Troubled Waters side quest to get Supervisor White to agree to allying with you. Number 6. Finch's Farm. When it comes to settlements in the northeastern quadrant of Fallout 4's map, I think I'd have to say that Finch's Farm is probably the best one to build at. While the settlement's building area isn't particularly large, it does have one of the highest building limits in the game, clocking in at about 13 stories. This figure is only surpassed by Abernathy Farm, which clocks in at an impressive 20 stories. It's also worth mentioning that you can build and scrap a few of the items that appear on the overpass just above the farm, provided it's within the building area's boundaries. As expected, this can be a great place to build some turrets, as well as for setting up your own personal workbench and storage area. After all, it's going to be sort of difficult for settlers to get up there depending on how you decide to build your stairs. The settlement is far from perfect, however, as I think you'll find that your options for building water purifiers are pretty limited. Plus, the main shack where the Finch family lives has immovable objects, which can be incredibly frustrating if you plan on using some of the ground areas for building. Still, this settlement is pretty easy to get, as all you really have to do is help retrieve the Finch family's shish kebab during the Out of the Fire side quest. Alternatively, you could always defeat all of the Finch family and take the settlement that way, but I wouldn't recommend that, as the Finch family does contribute to your overall population of your settlement. Number 5. Starlight Drive-In. Starlight Drive-In is a great choice for an early as well as late game settlement. Not only does it have a fairly decent location being in the center of the northwestern quadrant of Fallout 4's map, but it also has a massive building area and is filled to the brim with scrappable supplies. After all the cars in this location are scrappable and can provide the player with plenty of steel for various construction or crafting projects. Plus, if you're looking for other supplies, there is a locked room behind the screen that offers a few additional building supplies as well. When it comes to building though, what I like about Starlight Drive-In is that it tends to be far more level than most other settlements, which means you're going to have a lot less floating objects. Also, it's worth mentioning that you can scrap the radioactive barrels near the water in the settlement and build yourself a water purifier, which is great for supplying to your settlers or for yourself. My only complaint with Starlight Drive-In is the booby-trapped diner. If you're not careful upon first entering, there is a definite possibility that you can either get yourself really hurt or even killed. However, once you've cleared the diner out, along with all of the mole rats in the area, you'll find that Starlight Drive-In is a great location for a settlement and is highly recommended. Number 4. Sanctuary Hills. This won't be too much of a surprise, but despite being the very first settlement that you can get, Sanctuary is still a pretty great settlement. While it can be a little bit buggy, and it also has some of the most annoying NPCs in the entire game, like Preston Garvey and Marcy Long, Sanctuary Hills more than makes up for that with its relatively complete structures and vast amounts of potential scrappable resources. In particular, Sanctuary has access to a lot of steel, wood, and many other crucial building resources to help get you started. I also like Sanctuary's close proximity to a massive water supply and the number of blank foundations that can be accessed by scrapping the various pre-war houses. These flat foundations are great for building pretty much anything you want, and you won't have to deal with randomly floating parts like you might unintentionally get while building at other settlements. Aside from the annoying NPCs and bugs, my only other complaint with Sanctuary Hills would be that it's sort of remote in relation to many of the other in-game areas. I suppose this can't be helped because it's the game's starting location, but I think this would have been helped if you had the ability to build your own vertibird helipads. That way you could simply fly your vertibird to some of the locations that are further away. Still, you can definitely do a lot worse than Sanctuary Hills. After all, you get a few NPCs to help you harvest crops, a vast amount of crafting resources, an easily accessible water supply, and a few flat and stable foundations to build on. So, all in all, Sanctuary might not be the best settlement, but it's still pretty friggin' good. Number 3. The Castle. While fairly remote, the castle is a great place to build your own main base, and depending on how you advance the story, you may find that it is a really good idea to go ahead and build here, as this place can potentially get attacked by the Institute. However, regardless of how you progress the story, I think you'll find that the castle is valuable for a variety of reasons. For starters, the castle has pretty much all the crafting workbenches available, with the exception of a power armor station. In the power armor station's place, you get a pre-assembled power grid consisting of lighting, as well as access to a pre-built industrial water purifier. And this doesn't even account for the weapons and turrets that are available in the armory once the Old Guns quest is completed, which can make starting to build up the castle a whole lot easier. Perhaps my and most people's biggest complaint with the castle, though, is the destroyed walls. While there are some online tutorials that show you how to properly patch these walls to make them appear more seamless, these methods aren't necessarily intuitive for some, and it's also kind of bizarre Bethesda left the game in a state to where you couldn't have the option to have the walls repaired, sort of like you might see in Skyrim's Hearthfire DLC. Ultimately, though, the castle is a great settlement to build at, and all you have to do to acquire it is complete the Taking Independence quest for the Minutemen, or you can simply just go to the castle and defeat all of the Mirelurks as well as the Mirelurk Queen, and it's yours. Number 2. Spectacle Island. If you're looking for what is quite possibly one of the best settlements for building in Fallout 4, it would be criminal to not include Spectacle Island. After all, it sports pretty much the largest building area in Fallout 4, as you can build across the entire island. Spectacle Island is also known for having one of the highest build heights in the game, clocking in as high as 10 stories in some places. And if you're looking for building materials, there are plenty of scrappable objects all over the island, making this area fairly rich in crafting resources. So I would say if you're planning on building your own personal fortress, Spectacle Island would be a great choice. However, I think the biggest issue I have with Spectacle Island is just how remote it is. Not only are you in the southeasternmost parts of the map, which are known for having virtually no in-game cities nearby, but you're also separated from land by a fairly large body of water, which makes getting to Spectacle Island fairly difficult. To a lesser extent, it's sort of hard to defeat the Mirelurk Queen that spawns after you've activated the power generator, but what I think I could really see limiting this settlement's potential is just this settlement's location and how long it can take in a playthrough to acquire it. But like I said, if you're into building and you want the biggest area to build at overall, Spectacle Island is it and is definitely your best choice. Number 1. Abernathy Farm. While Spectacle Island has the largest building area in the game, I just think that Abernathy Farm is more practical. Plus, it's a pretty good choice when you consider that it currently has the highest building limit of any settlement at the game, clocking in at an impressive 20 stories. What's also pretty great about this settlement is its close proximity to a lot of the other early game settlements like Sanctuary Hills and Red Rocket. Not only can you plant a lot of crops here, as well as build plenty of massively tall structures, but provided you have the ability to set up supply lines, it's incredibly easy to quickly link the resources between Abernathy Farm, Sanctuary Hills, and Red Rocket, which will almost certainly make building large objects way easier. At the very least, it's a really good idea to come here for the high supply of Tato and melon crops. After all, you can pick some Tato here and then bring it to your other settlements to quickly supply them with food. So while I suppose it's a little less intuitive to come here to start building than it is for either Sanctuary Hills or Red Rocket, make no mistake that this is a great place to set up a base or to just build massive structures. And if you want to unlock this settlement, all you have to do is help the Abernathys obtain their stolen locket. Alright guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. If you liked this video, feel free to leave a like, click the bell to join the notification squad so you can get notified when more videos go up, and as always, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.